Thank you guys for being here. My name is Kelly Craig, and I'm co-president of PSIS 78 PTA, located here in Long Island City in Queens, New York. I would like to say thank you to my fellow PTA members who are helping behind the scenes facilitate this conversation. Thank you to Mr. Pavone for allowing this very important discussion to happen, especially during school hours, and for Ms. Nang for helping to facilitate this. I would like to thank our City Council member, Jimmy Van Bramer, and Senator Michael Gianaris, who is joining us right now. And thank you so much to Mackenzie and I serve on the board of directors for the Shoebox Project together, and it's been a privilege getting to know you and your friendship. I sort of pitched this to her after overhearing something in Miss Nang's class about civil rights. And the fact that you were able to put this together is absolutely incredible. And Mr. Green, to say that you have accomplished and changed the world and humanity for the better is an understatement. But I often think the proof is in the pudding, and the fact that you have raised such a remarkable, compassionate, empathetic daughter speaks volumes to not only to you, but to your entire family. We are privileged to have you here. It's an honor to be in your presence. Not often do we have a living icon come and join us at 78, and we appreciate that. I would like to start, if we could have Councilmember Van Bramer say a few words.
Thank you so much, Kelly and PTA, for organizing this incredibly important event. And I just want to say that in a world where we're not feeling as much joy maybe as we of course, your program here today is timely and important, and your super guest hosts, the Green family, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and am amazed by just how lucky we are to have them in our community and in our world. So I know we're going to hear from them. I just want to say that as the council member who represents this district and this school, how proud I am of PSIS 78 and all of your students, and how important it is for all of us to know that it is the work of all of our lives to end systemic racism and to be a part of making our world a just and equal place, a more just and equal place, to honor the incredible accomplishments of the African-American community and Black Americans, but to also make sure that we are all part of the movement that so many great Americans have been a part of. Congressman John Lewis, who we lost, Congressman Elijah Cummings, who we lost, and so many others who fought for freedom, for justice, for equality, and the young people today who are out there marching and fighting and demanding equality and justice. And so I am here as an ally and want to give everything that I have as both an elected official, but also as a human being, to make sure that I am using my power and privilege to make sure that I am doing the anti-racist work that is important for all of us to engage in, and also to use my platform and my power and my privilege to do everything I can to end systemic and structural racism. So, and celebrate, of course, Black History Month, which is not just this month, but every month, not just a day, but every day. And so I'm grateful to be here, anxious to hear from the Green family, which are just amazing, and anxious, of course, to hear from the scholars and the children, who I'm sure have so much to offer and to ask. So thank you for having me, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Senator Gianaris is just trying to log on, so we'll go into him after this. It is my great privilege to turn the floor to my friend Mackenzie and her amazing dad. What I think is so remarkable on so many levels about their story, some of their accomplishments. I actually made a comment today to Mackenzie. I said that I have to really start updating the things that I want to accomplish before I'm 40 list, because I did know that Mackenzie just, nominated for a couple Emmys. She is director of social media at BET. Her dad has been on the postage stamp and coins and has won essentially every presidential award that you can win. And not only is he a civil rights icon, but Mackenzie is also paving a way for a new generation of activists. And our children are experiencing another wave of the civil rights movement, which is long overdue with Black Lives Matters. And it's so important that we are knowledgeable about this. And to be able to now turn it over to you to hear about your story, I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. So Dad, I will take the burden. I will introduce myself first, and then I'll let you do the nice little intro. So it is so exciting this morning to see you guys' faces. I have been scrolling through your pictures, and yes, I've been dropping in the chat and watching you guys talk to each other. Don't worry, I won't tell. But I am Mackenzie Green. I am the youngest of the Green children. I am old in y'all's standards, so that's okay. Don't worry, I won't take offense. I currently am the social media director at BET. And so I have the honor of working with people like Tyler Perry and Tiffany Haddish and Common and so many incredible Black creators every single day. I went to a really cool university down called the University of Miami for my undergrad. I got my MBA from Columbia Business School, and I have worked everywhere from Harper's Bazaar magazine to NBC Universal to digital media companies. And I have had the distinct privilege of amplifying Black voices pretty much everywhere I've gone. I've made it my mission to kind of be a vision expander for other people like myself who weren't the most amazing students, who maybe didn't always see themselves represented. A little secret about myself, I grew up dyslexic. And I continue to deal with that every day. But I hope that the idea that I graduated from an Ivy League business school, that I continue to be a voracious and curious learner is proof to anybody else out there who's a little neurotypical that it is nothing to hinder you. But more than anything, I am an exceptionally proud daughter of, as Kelly so kindly said, of a living icon. I would never call him that to his face, so don't worry, Dad, this is the last time you'll ever hear me say this. But I have the privilege of saying that my favorite civil rights icon is somebody that I get to call Dad. So, Papa, why don't you introduce yourself to the kiddos?
All right, well, you just heard from one of my favorite people in the world, my daughter. One of the reasons that I'm interested in having a dialogue with the students is that in Little Rock in 1957, I was 12, 13 years of age. And when we went into Little Rock Central High School as the group that's known, I think informally as the Little Rock Nine, we were really about the age of many of you in the audience. I had opportunity as a young teenager to see the US Supreme Court hand down the famous Brown decision that some of you may not know what that is about, but it outlawed discrimination in public education in the country. Now, having a law on the books is one thing, having a law implemented is another thing. And when I read about the Supreme Court decision, it wandered through my mind, how is it going to get done? How is it going to work? Who's going to make it work? Who's going to carry it out? because Little Rock was like many other southern cities. It had very strict laws about where you could go to school, um, where restaurants you could eat in, couldn't eat in, um, um, movie theaters that you could and couldn't go to. And these were called Jim Crow laws. Uh, it existed all throughout the South. And in fact, one of the reasons that some of you may be aware of historically Black colleges and universities is that they were created because African Americans couldn't go to University of Alabama or University of Arkansas, and that they created separate institutions for African Americans to go to these schools. Well, I thought all of that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I didn't see Jim Crow laws as a formula that I wanted to follow. I didn't see segregation in buses and in restaurants and in movie theaters, something that we ought to follow. And I asked the question, my daughter always tells me I have to ask the question, why? And the why didn't make sense. And when the opportunity came to transfer from the school I was attending to go to Little Rock Central High School, I wanted to sign the sheet and become one of the students to transfer. That led that September of 1957 to a tremendous upheaval in Arkansas. It led to the point that President Eisenhower had to send in the paratroopers, much like we had to do in Washington a few weeks ago. But President Eisenhower in 1957, in September 57, sent in the 101st Airborne Division to provide entrance for us and the 9 of us to go to school at Little Rock Central. So I didn't expect to be in the history books. I have a great family. My wife, who is with me in Washington, Mackenzie's out in California, other children of mine in New Haven, Connecticut, New York City, all remind me that I have to take out the garbage. So it's you may see me as an icon, but like everyone else, I'm just dad. And what we'd like to do, Mackenzie and I, today would be to answer some questions that you have, and to tell you that we were, and believe it or not, I was 13, 14, 15 one time in my life. I'm significantly older than that now, but I also have a daughter, Mackenzie Green, who keeps me grounded and makes me knowledgeable on the world that's going on around. So I'm not the world's greatest icon when it comes to technology, but I have a technologist who keeps me grounded on where the world is going and what the new phases are, and even keeps me grounded in terms of music. So I'll throw it back to you, my dear daughter.
No problem. Well, I think one of the things that is unique about what my dad and I deal with on a daily basis is I've also been his speechwriter for the last 13 years now. So I have written his remarks all the way from, events for President Obama to keynote speeches to everything he's done from universities and everything like. And so I think it has been a unique experience for me this last kind of dozen years to get to know him in the context of his experience at Central, because, you know, obviously your parent is your parent. And if they're doing a good job, they do not enter rooms with capital letters, making sure that you know their significance in the world. And so I've gotten to know him in that respect as being his kind of collaborative partner in what he speaks about. And I think what I've always found to be such a unique part of the story of Central, and I think is really great for you guys to learn, is that it was not 9 students that signed up. You know, through my own kind of conversations with people, I've come to find that people have this idea of the civil rights movement. And I love this line about God doesn't qualify the called, he calls, or he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And this idea that people have this assumption that you guys were like 9 kids that got, you know, sent in applications and were selected for this kind of social experiment. And in reality, it was a massive amount of people that signed up to transfer to the school in relationship to what people now know. And realizing that once you saw the governor get on the news, that a lot of people dropped out. A lot of parents and kids felt uncomfortable with what was about to happen. And that really what ended up happening is, I think it was 10 of you technically were supposed to go through the first day. Then Elizabeth had her experience when you guys got separated. So it was 9. And I think that's a great lesson for you all, that oftentimes this idea that you have to be the right person, the right time, the right platform, the right background, the right home, all of the perfect things in place to make a difference in the world is not the case. You know, I mean, I, for myself, when Kelly said that, you know, a new form of activism, I just got on my Instagram and started sharing the reality of my life, of things I experienced, how I saw the world through my particular lens of being his daughter, you know, having the privilege of a platform like BET Plus to work with, you know, Black creatives to amplify those voices. And through that has come kind of a fascination and an interest from others to learn, you know, what I've done in relationship with my dad, and this feeling of like, oh, well, if you're where you are, it must be because it's something that he endowed you with. So I am so excited to talk to you guys, because I think for the two of us, we have learned so much from each other, and we're very open and honest in both my struggles now and his struggles then, and kind of the bridge between them, but also the reality of like, it's weird and it's hard sometimes being different and it's not fun. And we've had our own experiences of, you know, dealing with whether it's bullies, in my case, dyslexia, in my dad's case, stuttering, whatever it is. I think we don't just want to be here today to talk to you guys about just our Black experiences, but also this understanding of greatness is in everyone, and those kind of hurdles that you think in front of you are really gifts and superpowers that you can use to be your own kind of version of the Avengers. Because I'm a big superhero nerd, and I always say, you know, I look at my dad and the 9, and to me, they're the X-Men. And I waited a very long time, and I'm still waiting to figure out what my superpower is as a descendant of a superhero. But I find the excitement in this hero's journey to figure it out. So yeah, well, we want to open it up to.
I think we open it up.
Yeah, and if you guys want to drop questions in the chat, we can answer those. Or I think, I'm not sure, Kelly, you can let me know if you guys want to do the hand raise and then pull from that. We're happy to do whatever works.
Sure. Senator Michael Gianaris has joined us, and I'm also going to open up to him to say some remarks. Senator? Senator Gianaris, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. I was muted. Apparently, Mr. Green's not the only one who has technology problems dealing with some of this stuff. But it is a great pleasure to be here. I wanted to pop in because I'm actually in Albany legislating today, and wanted to take a minute to be part of this important Zoom meeting that you're having, and just to be on a Zoom with Ernest Green and with Mackenzie, someone who has lived history, the kind of history you read about in the textbooks. He was a part of it. He helped move this country forward, and such an important way and lay the groundwork for so many people. It is an honor to be part of this with you. Kelly and the PTA at PSIS 78, all the parents and the teachers and administrators, thank you for doing this. But what I want the kids to take away from this most of all is that anyone can make a difference. And I think you heard some of that from Mr. Green just a little bit ago. Anyone can be a part of making this country a little bit better. We have a long way to go. We took some big strides thanks to the Little Rock Nine, making things more equal, but we're still far away from it. And we have to all rededicate ourselves to furthering that mission and moving things a little bit forward as best we can in our own lifetimes. And what we're doing here, I think I've spoken to some of the kids before the pandemic in person. I'm the deputy leader of the state Senate here in New York. That means I'm the number 2 ranking person in the state Senate. The person who's number 1 is a history maker that could not have had that spot without the advances of the civil rights era. That's a woman named Andrea Stewart Cousins. She is the first Black woman to ever lead the legislative body in New York's history. And so the legacy continues. It has had an impact all over this country. And we're doing our best now to fulfill it ourselves. So we are pushing very hard to make it easier for people to vote. There are a lot of people who want to make it difficult, but we are trying to make it easier. We've made it easier for people to vote early, to vote by mail, to avail themselves of all the different ways of participating in our democracy, because that's ultimately how we bring about change. And so I cannot tell you how humbled I am to be a part of this, Mr. Green, with you and to see you here on my screen. And Kelly, thanks for inviting me to be part of it. I don't want to get in the way of the kids asking questions of the real legend on this call. So I'm gonna say goodbye and go pass some more laws today because I got to run over to the Capitol. But thank you so much for letting me step in and say hi to everybody.
Thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate that. Thank you, sir. And
I was going to add to many members in the legislature in New York are there, as the Senator indicated, because of the work that the civil rights movement did in opening up opportunity. And opportunity doesn't necessarily mean someone's skin color, but also gender, religious beliefs, a series of things. So we're a country that's still on the rise, making opportunities grow for a lot of people. And that's what this generation that we're talking to has got to continue to move the ball along.
We can, if anyone wants to drop into the chat a question, we can read a few of those out too.
Kelly, there are people with their hands raised. Some people opted to do the raise a hand. Okay. So there's some children on the list. Okay. If you can see it on the
If you can unmute them to ask them, that'd be great because you guys are doing the muting.
Okay, sure. Karina has a question, so I will just unmute.
My question is for Mr. Green. Like when you and the other 8 kids went into the school, was it when you started your class, was it like, did others didn't like it, like you didn't belong, or were others like excited that there's new people?
Well, I think most of the students in my classes were afraid to reach out and try to build a relationship with me. And that was because that period was one in which people spent time listening to a lot of antiquated old ideas. Now, when I go back to Central High School, some 50 years later, everybody wants to be my closest friend. So if you're experiencing in school right now, people that not necessarily your friends, spend some time trying to get to know them and have them spend some time trying to get to know you.
I heard a great quote from Jamie Kern-Lima, who's the founder of IT Cosmetics, and she's got $1 billion with B guys. She can do all kinds of things. And she had this great quote where she said, take note of the people that don't like you now, because they'll be the first people to say that they know you when you make something of yourself. Like, I always love when we go back to Central and everybody and their mother thinks that what the 9 did were like, we can't find a single person in the city limits of Little Rock that doesn't think the Little Rock 9 were the greatest thing ever when we go back now. There's not a single person. It was all somebody else. So I always think that's like my favorite part when we go back for these anniversaries. I'm like, wow, you too? You also thought it was a great idea? Where are all these people that didn't like the idea? But yeah, it's always amusing to me.
Mr. Green,
Yeah.
my son has a question for you.
All right.
If you lived in Washington, did you ever visit the president?
He wants to know if you've ever visited a president before.
If you live in Washington?
Yeah. In fact, I met our present president before he became president. I knew him when he was vice president, and he was a senator in Washington.
He's being very nice, guys. He's being accepted. We've had like sitting presidents at our home for dinner, and he has been a part of the Carter administration, right, Dad? And then we've got like I recently, when I was home during the pandemic, he had a proclamation in the basement from Reagan, and then he's known. And then you and Barack, he went to Barack's White House for a Super Bowl party. That was very cool. My mom and I were very confused, and he somehow, didn't you end up going to like a jazz festival with Bush? And Mom and I didn't know where you were for like 2 hours.
Yeah. We had with President Bush. He was in Little Rock. For the presidents have, these libraries, and President Clinton invited President Bush to attend, and he and I sat next to one another at a jazz concert. And in fact, I call him Bush 2. Bush 2 had had me to come and talk during Black History Month. So that's when you couldn't find me. Yeah. I was hanging out with the Bushes.
Yep.
As one does.
Dylan has, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I was going to ask you if you have another question.
There's a child, Dylan Gutowski. He has had his hand raised for a really long time. So I was just wondering if you wanted to ask a question.
I have a question. If you, for Phyllis grade, if you were one of the Little Rock 9 in the first day of high school, I think, when the soldiers didn't let you eat, you did like something like, you use words to try to get in and get a fillet?
I think the question is, what did you guys do to get in? Like, did you have to try to negotiate? Did you have
that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, we had to indicate that we were interested in leaving the school we were attending and transfer to Central. And the reason I wanted to transfer to Central is that they had an excellent science program. I thought I wanted to be a physicist, found out later I wasn't, me and physics weren't made for each other, but Central High School had a reputation of being a school with a lot of laboratories and a lot of equipment and a lot of variation of courses. And I saw it as something that I thought would improve my education. And like many of you, you got to pay attention today to all the work that your teachers give you. Try to study as hard as you can. Don't take any of the coursework for granted. Be willing to do extra work. All of that is important because, like myself, I ended up that year being the only person in the 12th grade who was a person of color at Central. So I became, in the May of 1958, the first African-American graduate at Central High School. And it's turned out, as Mackenzie says, when I go back to Central today, everybody is my closest friend. There's nobody that was opposed to my being there today. At the time, it was sometimes lonely, but I thought that we were breaking new barriers, and that at the end of the day, we would have made some new friends, not many, because they were afraid of what their friends would say about them being close to me. And what you find out about life is don't take the easy course to get to wherever you're trying to go. Get the difficult one, get the one that's going to increase your knowledge of how other people operate. And I think you'll find that as when you become an adult, that was the best decision that you could make.
And I think we have this perception nowadays that, like, if somebody's doing something mean to you, you know, the option to reason or have a conversation with them or to say to them, like, this is unfair. And I think what you guys have to remember is, for the times, there was not an idea that a Black person was human enough to deserve that kind of reason or conversation. And that's really where the presidential intervention came in to get them into Central, is that you had lawmakers in place who had been elected and were now advocating to keep them out of the school. And so that's where President Eisenhower comes into the conversation, because he had to basically intervene against Governor Faubus. But I think it's interesting because, you know, as a millennial, and you guys are adorable Gen Z, I think we've all kind of grown up in this world where this assumption is, if something is being done against you, you can go up to those guards and be like, I'm supposed to be going here to school, you should let me in. And this idea that people would go out of their way to block you or to threaten violence against you, it can be foreign, especially to you guys across all of these grades. This idea that so much anger and divisiveness could be because you're different. And I think that is a really powerful thing to remember in this, is that, you know, what you guys are seeing in your textbooks that are black and white photos are not black and white photos, because what you're seeing right now is somebody live in the flesh who's part of those images from history, which shows you guys it's not history, really. It's just it's a moment that happened, you know, in your parents' lifetime and your grandparents' lifetime. And that, you know, it's sad to think that there were people who are still, you know, still walking around who were part of that group who said such hurtful things or who barred the doors for them to enter. But I think that's the beauty in it, is, you know, you guys are getting an opportunity now that a lot of people don't at a young age to understand that history is happening in real time. So, you know, how can you step into your moment?
Well, and your moment is that you make your history.
Yep.
And you have an opportunity to make a lot of history, be able to achieve, use education and school as a stepping stone, get to know lots of different people, because when you go off to high school, go off to college, go off to making your life and raising a family, you'll have met some people that you wish you knew more about. And when they show up on the news one night for having created the next vaccine that eliminates another disease, and you reach out for them, and then they say, "I don't remember you. You never spoke to me in class. You never spoke to me when we were in the hallway." So now is the time to try to make friends from lots of different backgrounds, so that when you finish this part of your education, you feel like you have accomplished some things. How did I do, daughter?
Mr. Green, we have a question from a teacher at our school. As an American teacher and parent, I want to thank you for your courage in helping our country be more united, fair, and just. It must have also taken your parents' courage to allow you to attend Central High School. Can you talk about your parents and what their decision-making was in having you enter Central High School? How did they influence and support you at the time?
Well, my father had died by the time I went to Central, so it was my mother and other relatives, my brother and sister. I always point out that the parents really dedicated a lot. They are owed a round of applause that we really can't give to them. And I say that because as an adult, you knew that there were going to be bad consequences. As a teenager at 15, 16, you believe you can walk through brick walls. You know, you've got, as my daughter says, you have superpower. But we were able to do what we did because we had an adult that was willing to stand up and support our desire to go to Central. And for that, I'm forever grateful to my mother who let me follow my dreams. So I say to you students today, make sure you keep your parents informed of what you want to do, what kind of world you want to try to make, and you'd be surprised how many of them are willing to go the 9th mile to help you have that dream to come true and to make it possible to continue to change this world. And that's what we are here for, to make change.
We have time. It's so wonderful that we have so many children with questions. I see so many raised hands. We have time for 2 more. And I'll go to Ralph, who has had his hand completely up for like 30 minutes.
So I have a question. It's like, did anyone like in the did anyone like any other people like get famous like you in like the Black history? Did anyone else like from your school?
Question is, did any of the other of the 8 of the, well, now 7, did they get a chance to become as famous as you? You know, Dad, because you do have a Disney movie, so I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all became famous the moment that the governor tried to keep us out of the school. And we're all spread around. In fact, we're spread around the world. One of the members of the 9 lives in Holland, actually Holland and Sweden. There are a couple that live in Canada, 2, I think, in California, Colorado. So we're spread around, and they've written books, and been in news clips and but when we all get together, there are 8 of us now, we all revert back to being 15, 14, and having the same arguments we had when we were first going to Central High School. So it's like the arguments you have with your brothers and sisters about who took the last cookie out of the cookie jar. I think we probably got time for
one more, I think.
One more, and if there are students who have burning questions, if they would give it to you guys, we'll try to answer some of them.
Yeah, Kelly has my email, so she can pass it along to the teachers.
Alex, do you want to do one more question?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Arya had a question.
So after your first year in the new school, was people nice to you?
Well, I had the next year, the history of Little Rock is that the governor of Arkansas closed all public high schools so that they wouldn't have desegregation, and that there were no public high schools in Little Rock. The next year, he was going to punish, I assume he was trying to punish the Black community, but he ended up making it difficult for everyone. And so they had to reopen the schools. The other thing is that after 1957, 58, after I graduated, the schools were closed for that year, and then the next year they opened up, and 2 of the original Little Rock 9 graduated from Central High School in Little Rock.
Mr. Green, I, again, do not know how to thank you enough. I will send an email to the teachers, and we can put forward maybe, as you suggested, a couple questions via email, and I'll send it to Mackenzie. For you to both, Mackenzie and Mr. Green, to donate your time today to help inspire children. There's a quote that I've always liked, that if you want the system to change, you have to rethink how you want the system to work. And I think conversations like this and learning from our history is a remarkable way for us to create a new generation, which will pick up the torch where you have blazed a trail, and for the rest of us to follow. I'm grateful as a friend, Mackenzie. I'm grateful as a mom and as our PTA co-president. Mr. Pavone, thank you. Senator Gianaris, thank you. Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer. We're so fortunate for this. And thank you to all the teachers and students who took time out of their day to participate. We're very grateful. Thank you guys so much for this. Thank you.
No
problem. Well, I want to add that each of you have an opportunity to make this world, it's like Diana Ross, make this world better. And the old folks like me, we're depending on you to make a better world. I know you will. So I enjoyed being able to talk, but I'm proud of my my speechwriter, who keeps me on the straight and narrow. And as a parent, there's nothing greater than being proud of your kids. So all the parents out there, we got to go to work and make life better for our children.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much.
Kelly,
everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Kelly,
Thank
can
you
I
so
say
much.
one thing?
Oh yeah, Mr. Pavone, sure.
I just wanted to point out 2 things that resonated with me. First, I want to thank Mackenzie for what she said. I wrote this down, that, and this is important for all of our children, that history is happening in real time. That really was great, because it makes history make sense to learn about history, and to have somebody here who lived such an important part of our history to be able to speak to what we're all learning about as young children right now is really amazing. And I'm so thankful to have all of you here with us today. And to see the love between the two of you of family is so evident, and how important that is to have loving families. And the relationship that you have with your father relates to me with my dad, and it's something we can all relate to, and I'm so proud to see that. And I think that helps all of us as we grow to have a loving relationship and to listen to those that lived to learn from them. And I just want to thank you both again, and thank Kelly again, and thank Jimmy for being here the whole time, and Mike Gianaris for being here, and all of our teachers, and of course all of our children. So thank you all. I think this was so informative and so amazing, and I wish we could do this more, because I know a lot of people couldn't get in. And
we're recording it.
We could do it again. Okay, great.
It's being recorded.
So. Thank you all. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, Mackenzie. Hopefully we can continue our relationship here at our school. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Goodbye.